So I had to kind of climb through a snowdrift here to get into the office this morning. I mean, even the city of St. Catharines cleans cul-de-sacs after like 36 hours, kind of, sort of. But we're going to get a fine here, man. Gotta clean it off. All right, yeah, bye. All kinds of restrictions, all kinds of rules. Excuse me, it's getting slippery down here. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. That is me. We are fueled by Gales Gas Bars. We are powered by WeeStreem. We are hosted by Fiddler's Poorhouse. Stuff is hard. We are sponsored by Performance Heating and Air, as well as Verge Insurance Group, and it was mere moments ago that Premier Feulled made an announcement about the what were really not so secret lessening of restrictions in certain areas for the province, but they're not taking effect for a while. So anyway, we've got that announcement for you coming up when we first get the show underway here. So we're going into this lovely window at Fiddler's Poorhouse, getting out of the flurries and the cold, and we'll bring you up to date with everything that's going on that's going to affect your life in the next little while, at least as we know it today, because as you know, everything is fluid, and I'm glad we finally made it here after that crazy storm. We've been talking about this. Most people think it's probably the biggest one since the blizzard of '77. I would tend to agree, because I was here then too. Anyway, we'll be back in 30 seconds. Stick around. We are live. Are you ready to rumble? Welcome, by the way, to, again, Season 3, Episode 3 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. And what we do every week is sort of tee up what's happening on the show. And we don't have a lot of static plans for the show. But what we do have, as I mentioned out on the street, is the fact that the announcement that Premier Feulled made just moments ago. So we figured we'd just fly right into that in case you missed it. Here's what's going on.
The coming weeks will continue to pose real challenges, especially to our hospitals. But these are challenges our hospital system can manage. We can be confident in our ability to care for people, to provide hospital beds to those who need them. And we can be confident that the worst is behind us as we look to cautiously ease public health measures. As we do, Ontario will repeat the success of the past reopenings. We're taking a phased approach with 21 days between each step to make sure we haven't moved too fast. Starting January 31st, businesses in Ontario will return to 50% capacity. For the first step, arenas, concert venues, and theaters will be capped at 500 people. Social gatherings will increase to 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors. If trends remain stable or improve, Ontario will move to the next step on February 21st and then March the 14th. Minister Elliott will provide more details on what's included in these steps shortly. But before she does, I know there'll be some who wish we could move faster. As I said, we need to remain cautious, especially with students going back to class this week. And I know there may be some who say we're moving too fast. Now we want to be absolutely sure these positive trends continue as we move forward. And we want to do everything humanly possible to avoid having to go backwards. If that means pausing between steps for a few extra days, we won't hesitate to do so. The best way to make sure we keep moving forward, the best way to protect our progress is by getting vaccinated. If you haven't already done so, please get your first or second shots. And if you're eligible, boost up as soon as you can. Because so many of you have come forward for your booster dose, Ontario leads the country in third doses. This is fantastic news and something we should all be proud of. But it shouldn't stop us from wanting to do more to protect our families, our communities, and our hard-fought progress. So please do your part, get your shots. It's never too late. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll pass it over to Minister Elliott.
Thank you, Premier, and good morning, everyone. As the Premier mentioned, earlier this month we made the very difficult but necessary decision to put in place additional public health measures to prevent our hospitals from becoming overwhelmed. At that time, our government announced that these measures would be in place for at least 21 days, subject to trends in public health and health system indicators. We are now approaching the end of that timeline, and thanks to the sacrifices of Ontarians and unwavering efforts of our healthcare workers, these measures are starting to have an impact. There are some positive signs that we may be reaching the peak of the Omicron wave in Ontario. However, we still need to remain humble and cautious. That's why, as we prepare to safely lift public health measures, we will continue with a gradual and cautious manner that has always guided our decisions. In the absence of concerning trends in public health and healthcare indicators, Ontario will follow a cautious and phased approach with 21 days between each step. Starting with January 31st, 2022, Ontario will begin the process of gradually easing restrictions in effect under the modified Step 2 of the Roadmap to Reopen. This includes increasing social gathering limits to 10 people indoors for social gatherings and 25 people outdoors. Capacity limits will be increased or maintained at 50% for a number of indoor public settings where proof of vaccination is required, such as restaurants, retail, gyms, and religious services. Spectator areas at sporting events, concert venues, and theaters will be permitted to operate at 50% of the usual seating capacity or 500 people, whichever is less. Proof of vaccination requirements would continue to apply in existing settings. Should trends remain stable or improve, Ontario will move to the next step on February 21st. At this time, we will increase social gathering limits to 25 people indoors and 100 people outdoors, and remove capacity limits in indoor public settings where proof of vaccination is required. Spectator capacity at sporting events, concert venues, and theaters will be permitted at 50% capacity. And capacity limits in indoor public settings where proof of vaccination is not required will be limited to the number of people that can maintain 2 meters of physical distance. By March 14th, we intend to lift capacity limits in all indoor public settings and religious services and ceremonies, and increasing social gathering limits to 50 people indoors with no limits outdoors. Proof of vaccination requirements will be maintained. Final recommendations on moving to each step will continue to be based on the recommendations of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we are committed to remaining cautious and responsive as we continue to respond to the Omicron variant. As we start to see some hopeful signs and begin to ease measures, I want to remind Ontarians how grateful we are for their sacrifices to keep one another safe. And to our healthcare workers, pharmacists, and other essential workers, it has been a long and difficult road through this pandemic, and it cannot be emphasized enough how indebted we are to you. As I mentioned yesterday, there's no question we will continue to face challenges in the weeks ahead. However, if we remain steadfast in our gradual and cautious approach, as more Ontarians continue to receive their vaccine and we begin to roll out antiviral treatments, and as we continue to use the full resources of our healthcare system, I am confident that we can manage the challenges before us. Thank you.
Okay, Kev, I think we'll
Before we take questions
cut it
from the
there
phone,
because the questions that are coming in will just be fodder for the other news people that are around. And we talked about this before we went to air. So many of these reporters, God bless them, they have a job to do. And it's not always an easy one, but some of the questions are like just such softballs. It's like, really? Some of the things that jumped out at me throughout that presentation. One of the things that Minister Elliott said is we have to remain humble and cautious. What does humility have to do with it? Does she know the English language? Like, why do I have to be? I can be cautious and do everything I'm supposed to do and not be a very humble person. What has humility got to do with it? We all need to be humble. Oh, okay. That means we all have to be Canadian, right? And just bend over and put up with it. Okay, so 50% capacity for entertainment and sports venues, or 500 people, whichever is less or fewer. Okay, so that means you're talking. It does mean you're talking like Leafs, Raptors, like all these things, right? So when they play at the Scotia, 500 people?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's what that means.
That means like 4. Like it looks like there's 4 people in the place when you have 500.
You know, when they tell you the first time, you think it makes sense, and then you start to ask questions like that and go, because I thought the Leafs they were capped at 1,000 fans right now.
Yeah.
But I think 1,000 fans pretty much meant like, well, our staff take up, the staff and people that need to be here, they take up like 600.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But the good thing is that, for parents and especially for kids, the arenas are opening back up.
Right.
So the arenas are opening back up.
Irrespective of the spectators, it sounds like you're still going to be able to get out and go to the rink.
That's my assumption. So minor hockey organizations, you can finally kind of get back underway and resume your seasons. Hopefully you didn't lose your tournament. I was talking to a minor hockey coach just the other day saying that, hey, they missed out on 2 or 3 tournaments just during this latest lockdown. And for the minor hockey orgs, that's a lot of revenue lost. Right, they make a lot of money by hosting these tournaments.
Absolutely.
And probably pays for the next season, right?
Absolutely.
So I feel for them and hope they haven't lost. Lee, just want to remind people that the show is open. So if you want to react to this, if you have questions like we do, maybe you have more insight, just click the Zoom link and anybody can come on the show. You can share your experience. You can talk about your reaction to the announcement today that on January 31st, things are going to begin to gradually reopen, because it seems they have a bit of a game plan moving forward. They talked about a March 14th date, also a March 21st date, a February 14th date, a February 21st date, it's confusing, Lee.
But before we get ahead of ourselves as the horse leaves the barn, these kinds of announcements have been made periodically over the last couple of years, as far as here's our plan. And then this virus and its family seems to have other plans. So, I mean, and one of the, you didn't see it, but one of the reporter's questions was, well, you made a comment back in October that by March we'd be without masks and proof of vaccination. Well, what's changed? Everything's changed. Everything has changed, you moron. I mean, really, where did the Omicron come from and the whole thing? But that notwithstanding, Kevin, I do believe that we are reaching, and we've said this before, but I'm even more convinced of it now, that we are reaching a point of saturation of information that, we want to know what we can do, but it's almost like, oh, stop, because you have no idea if you're going to be able to roll this out or not. You don't know. I mean, you say that today, but in a couple of weeks, somewhere out of Lithuania, some other variant creeps up, and now we've got the Lithuanian, and now the whole thing goes back into tunnel vision.
You know, Lee, contrary to that, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I know.
If they didn't roll out a game plan that had a vision beyond a week or 2 weeks, we'd be criticizing them for not having a plan. And then they have a plan, and we're like, well, why do you have a plan? Because this stuff changes day by day.
I know. So. I feel guilty even saying it. Like, I shouldn't be so negative. I should be, yeah, okay, we'll be able to come to Fiddler's Poorhouse and again, have a burger and a beer and meet somebody for lunch, and I should be saying that. I should be positive, but it would be more positive if it was this Saturday as opposed to the 31st.
What happened to the 26th? Remember the whole time it was to the 26th, and now today the announcement is the 31st. Like, I don't want to say what's that about. I mean, okay, it's another 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
but if you
Minister Elliott said we mentioned it would be 3 weeks, and we're nearing that benchmark. Okay, so what they're adding 5 days to it.
I know, but it's easy for you and I to fluff off, but to a restaurant that's been closed for 21,
I know.
Why another 5? Like, they were probably had the 26th circled on their calendar saying that's the day we might be able to go back, and now it's the 31st.
Yeah, like Poor Fiddlers has had to do with this mural behind my head now for over a month. They've had to put up with this mural for over a month because they can't hire somebody to come in and get it off the window. Sorry, Dave.
Now, what's next?
I mean, it was nice before Christmas.
I got to say, the best little play on words that I used or that I heard in the last week was calling not Snowmageddon, but Snowmacron.
Snowmacron.
Yeah, I heard somebody use Snowmacron. That's pretty good.
I used Snowmageddon in my Facebook post when I was promoting this show, but Snowmacron is good.
Yeah. Now, are we going to talk? Are we going to talk snow today? Are we going to talk Doug Ford? We're going to talk.
Okay. Well, have you got the picture of the snowman I sent you?
Yeah. Okay.
This is the positive thing. One of the positive things that came out of this horrendous storm that we went through. I was out walking my dog today. I thought that is probably the perfect snowman. It was done by kids of neighbors of mine, and I thought I just had to stop and take that picture this morning because I mean, with the scarf and the hat, even eyebrows and the eyes. And a little black button nose. I mean, that's look at that. Eyelashes even. That's great. Now, I realize, as Kevin mentioned earlier, there could be a little bit more definition between the middle ball and the bottom ball. Okay. Yeah. So, well, the snowmen have been putting on weight over COVID as well. So their waistlines aren't what they used to be. So there you go. One of the things,
hey, Lee.
Yes, Kevin.
What did the number 0 say to the number 8?
I don't know.
Hey, nice belt.
Oh, boom. By the way, speaking of that, I had quite the interesting conversation with my wife this week. And after all the years we've known each other, which is way too many for me to mention, she realized I only had 9 toes. And she was really PO'd about it. I said, what's wrong? She said, I'm lactose intolerant.
Wow.
Ooh, that's bad, eh? Okay, one of the things that did not come up in this conversation was travel. Did you notice that?
That's a good point.
Nothing was mentioned about border crossings. Nothing was mentioned about international travel. Nothing was mentioned about domestic flights or requirements or anything. It's almost like the government has wanted to disassociate itself from anything to do with the hot potato that is travel. The airlines have been just absolutely horrendous to deal with for anybody traveling. Flights getting canceled on a whim with no notice and no compensation and no nothing. And there's still nothing out there in the ether telling us what any before or after travel restrictions are required. Right now, I know as far as if you're gonna get on a plane and head on a vacation somewhere, all you need to get on the plane is proof of vaccination. You don't need to get on the plane right now in Canada at a Canadian airport, you only need proof of vaccination. You don't need a negative COVID test or anything of that nature. Now coming back, kind of a whole different sack of hammers.
So, and I was literally just talking to somebody today that just came back from an all-inclusive. They returned yesterday or the day before, and they told me that, they had to spend $250 American to get the test done.
Each?
And then I think that was total for the two of them. But then upon the return, nobody asked for it. They didn't have to show it to anybody. He was just talking about inconsistencies across the board.
Yeah.
And he said that even then at the airport, after they came off the plane and they said, okay, now we got to kind of go through this, and they have special COVID screening. He said they packed us all in the room like sheep, which is counterintuitive to what you want to do. Now, granted, they were just on a plane for 3 or 4 hours. So
of course.
whatever. And then said that somebody else told him, like, oh, okay, you got your booster shot? Yeah, all right, well, you're good to go. So he was saying complete inconsistency between what he read, what he prepared for, and then what he actually experienced.
Yeah, the dots
coming
don't
airport,
the dots don't connect.
It's tough. And then we saw, Lee, last week on the show, we had our trucker friend, Dave Bennison, coming on.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about the confusion.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The morning of our show on Thursday, the CBSA, the Canadian Border Services Agency, you'd think this is a trusted government body, said, you know what, vaccines, they're not going to be mandated for truck drivers. Get back, cross-border shopping.
We've got it figured out.
And then later that same day, the Canadian government comes out and says, that announcement was made in error.
It was in error. What?
So, gosh.
We realize, everybody realizes that I know that these decisions are difficult to make. Speeches and announcements like the Ford government had, and don't get me wrong, I'm no special friend of the Ford government, but they've got the job to do. So regardless of what party is in power or who the premier is or who the health minister is or whatever, it's not an easy thing to juggle. So you got to try to figure out how to say what you want to say, announce the decisions that have been made in the least offensive and the least impactful way, so you can get out of Dodge without having to suffer the slings and arrows of public opinion and outrage. So it's a tough job for these people to do. And I get that, and most people do get that. It's just when those idiosyncrasies pop up that don't go to any support of your credibility whatsoever. It's just like, what do you mean it was made in error? Who made it, and who told you to make it, and why couldn't they make it, and why do you have to make them change it, and shouldn't you have figured this crap out before? Do the due diligence before.
It was the CBSA making an official announcement. It wasn't.
Do they not run their own business?
It wasn't, this is rumored, there's going to be an announcement tomorrow, we're waiting to hear. If the CBSA puts out an announcement, I think that has been vetted and everybody's on the same page.
And put through the Ottawa grinder.
Again, I'm with you. The decisions are difficult, and I get it, and there are moving pieces. But the flip-flop last week within, a 12-hour period that affected truckers right across Canada and trucking companies, I can only imagine what they did that day. They spent the entire morning planning as if there were no vaccine mandates and getting all their ducks in a row, and then by nighttime, let's undo all the work and all the planning that we did that day. It's tough. The show is open. I'm seeing a lot of comments. We really encourage people to join the show if you want to comment, if you got questions.
Comment live.
So, Lee, what does this mean for restaurants? There's all kinds of nuance. Even though they said 50% capacity, what does that mean?
We did not see in the announcement any limit or any number put on the number of people that could dine together. Like before, it was a maximum of, it was 4, then it was 6. I think it went up as high as 12, maybe, at one point. And then it was reduced to 10, and it's been a fluid number since they, with the indoor dining thing. But what was not mentioned in this thing about January 31st, 50% capacity was how many people could come in together. They didn't talk about that part.
And what about the time? Does that mean it's wide open? We're serving alcohol till 2 a.m.?
They didn't mention that either.
Because they've moved that meter a lot, right? We've seen it at 10 p.m. We've seen last call at 9. We've seen last call at 11. I'm kind of making things up, but I think people understand that, over time, even though 50% capacity, we've seen
do we still need the QR code?
It's a good point. I
They
guess
didn't
so.
say that either.
Well, that's just they said vaccine.
I guess we're sort of supposed to accept that now.
Well, proof of vaccine is required, and that's all the QR code does is
I
prove
guess
that
so.
you're vaccinated. So that would remain in place.
Yeah, they're again though, these kinds of little holes that are in the announcement are what breed that confusion. If I were a restaurateur, I'd be asking, like if I was Dave McPerry and I operate Monty's and I operate these are a couple of business, we employ probably maybe 30 people or whatever the hell it is. It's like, okay, thank you, but how do I do this?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know how I do this. How does that happen?
So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's an official release that's coming out today that map out those things from the announcement.
I'm sure they'll flesh it out sooner or later.
From the announcement, the assumption would be that it's 50% capacity. That's the only restriction. Although,
Yeah.
you know, when you read the fine print, maybe there's further restrictions. Maybe we'll see it shut down at 10 p.m. at midnight or whatever it is. Or maybe Hergy will have something to say about who can actually sit with each other and all the other confusion that goes along with it. But I'm very happy for the restaurateurs and the bar owners right across Niagara that at least now they can plan for and they know that January 31st we're open our doors again.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate and naysayer again. I like to be positive as much as the next guy. But we've heard this all before. And again, you can't predict variants. You can't predict the newest Omicron or Zeta, Eta, Theta, whatever the hell the next Greek letter is that they're going to use. But you can't predict those things. I understand that too. But at some point, Kevin, I think they've got to say, okay, we're here. We've got these people operating. And irrespective of what happens next, we're going to keep these people open. They'll follow the guidelines. They'll follow the rules. We've got plastic around. We've got dividers. We've got all this stuff that we did and spent money to do so that we could feed somebody and quench their thirst. And you know what? We're gonna keep them open, and we'll deal with the consequences. But we gotta keep our economy open. And it just gets me. I don't know how many people watched all of those wild card NFL football games over the weekend. It's like we live in a different world from the United States, and they're our closest neighbor, and it's like we're on a different planet. There are 76,000 people or more in these massive stadiums. They're not wearing, well, maybe the odd one is wearing a mask, only it's like a wolf mask. Who knows what they're wearing in an NFL stadium these days? But the point is, there's tens of thousands of these people. And here, it's like we're in a cocoon that we can't seem to, just as the butterfly gets out to fly, we close it back up again. And we can't keep doing it, Kevin. We just can't keep doing it. You were saying before, how long has it been? Now, I know this Snowmageddon or Snowmacron or whatever it is that you call it, it took people by surprise and it delayed school, and you can't blame anybody for that except Mother Nature. But the thing is, how long has it been that a month, were you saying, that it's been since you've been able to actually pay attention to your business?
Today marks, to the day, 1 month that my children have been home. A month since my kids were actually at school, which means me as an entrepreneur, just for example, it's not all about me, everybody's got their own story, but here's mine. For 1 month, I have not been able to spend a day working on our business.
Okay.
And I know through running a business for the last 6 years, the more time and the more effort that I get to put into our business, the more revenue generates. There's an absolute linear correlation there.
What you put in is directly related to what you get out.
I know the holidays.
That's life in general.
I know the holidays are there, what have you, but you want to talk about how the Snowmacron and how Omicron and how it affects people. Well, there you go. Today is the first day that I basically have had to be an entrepreneur and run my business for 1 month since December the 20th.
Let's do a quick segue, because that gives us sort of a slippery slope, pardon the pun, depending on our weather conditions, between the COVID thing and the snow thing. Biggest snow event in recent memory, if you talk to most people. I was here, and I was a big part of broadcasting during the blizzard of '77. We're not going to talk about that. What I was talking about, though, is many people have said this is the most devastating 1 or 2 day snow event, like happening all at once since that time. It just sort of conjures up that time. I can't disagree. Now, when it comes to how municipalities and regions deal with people being, I use the word trapped, because that's how it makes you feel. It makes you feel absolutely trapped when you can't maneuver with your own free will. So I live in a cul-de-sac in the north end of St. Catharines. Cul-de-sacs are always the last. If you go in the region, you go in the, and the city does a pretty good job of telling you, if you go online, et cetera, of telling you if you live in this kind of street or this kind of area or this kind of whatever, you can expect it to take X number of hours until you're paid attention to. And I appreciate the fact that information is there. However, one wonders if there is not a better way. And believe me, I'm not really complaining about the city or the staff or anybody at all, or the region or whatever, because I know that all the hardware that was out there and all the workers that are possibly employed that can be out there, I know the whole gang was out there working round the clock to try to get our community moving again. I understand that. That being said, there's always a that being said, there's always a but, right? So, and my wife and I were fine. We didn't have to go anywhere. We don't have any health issues that needed attention. We had no emergencies. It was okay. I mean, I'm not complaining about anything that happened to us, except for the fact that I pay as much, if not more, in my tax dollars every year, as someone that lives on a main thoroughfare. I might pay more because of the location that I chose to buy a house in, as far as tax dollars are concerned. Tax dollars go toward maintenance of your city, including things like snow and waste pickup and like all that stuff. Okay, well, why theoretically, I know the answer, but yeah, it has to pass your mind every now and then saying, okay, but I'm paying the same amount of taxes or maybe more than that guy over there. That guy over there can get out of his driveway. I can't. Now, I know Kevin has an insight into this because of his role with WeeStreem, i.e. founder, co-chief and bottle washer with Brandon Scram, et cetera, does city councils, et cetera. Now this, I understand, Kevin, in St. Catharines anyway, and perhaps in Niagara Falls. What was it, Tuesday night, Niagara Falls Council?
Yeah, Tuesday night.
Yeah. These things were no doubt discussed at both of these council meetings.
Not so much, believe it or not. They were addressed but not really discussed or debated because that stuff's in the past. They talk about their snow clearing plan and what's going to happen in an event like this. And as you mentioned, I mean...
But everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah, there were no snow plows. Like, do you think they were all just gathered at the Gale Center idling? Like, well, I don't know. Every single man and machine that could operate and move snow was out there and deployed as many hours as they possibly could be.
Right.
And then, I mean, it's a, once in 44-year event.
Yeah.
Right? If we go back to the blizzard of 77.
All right, so you're telling me I'm being petty.
Well,
I'm being petty. Okay.
Don't turn into one of those,
I'll buy
how
that.
come they haven't plowed my street yet, guys?
I didn't, really. I'm bringing it up for everybody else who was upset.
Nah, they were...
Yeah.
It was difficult, right? I mean, I've seen and I've sat through some of these meetings where they debate the planning, and the reality is you can't staff it at a level for a once in 44-year event.
There you go. That is truly, pardon the non-pun where the rubber hits the road, that is precisely it. You cannot have staffing and equipment that you have to maintain and people you have to pay just in case you get something like we had on Sunday, Monday night. so it is what we is. But
you know what? I feel for, there are some people that need their medication delivered, that need medical attention, that maybe lost power through the whole thing, and all those. So for those people, I really feel for them.
But again, to be a positive note for the cities as well as the region is the fact that they said that if you are in that situation, you let us know, and we'll make special dispensations to get you there or to get you your stuff or whatever. I know there were snowmobile clubs, much like there was like 50 years ago or whatever, that would run errands for people that were in dire need. And that segues into something else again, is when we were looking for people and things and places to talk about and focus on here on Niagara 411 Live. And as always, we partner with Nick. Hey, Nick, great job, by the way, over the last week. It's been absolutely nuts for you, I know. And hi to Nick's mom again. Is the Niagara 411 was absolutely full of humanity. Neighbors helping neighbors, people helping strangers, strangers going out of their way to meet people and do what they can.
This is Upper Canada Lodge, Niagara on the Lake.
Yeah.
Warming centers open.
Which was heartwarming to see, because that's when humans really step up and help their fellow humans regardless.
I thought this was important yesterday about children making snow forts or igloos in the windrows and right around the edges of the road.
Or even playing on the banks.
I didn't even think about it, and then when I saw this notice yesterday, I thought to myself, oh God, I hope no kid gets injured or worse in this. And I can only imagine the trepidation of the snowplow drivers, where you're trying to do your job, you're trying to do it as quickly as possible, but every time you go into a big bank like that, you go,
you're in this great big thing.
How many times do they just hope? I hope there's no kid in there.
Well, I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was on this show. I think it was, we've been doing this 3 seasons now, so I can't remember exactly when it was. But it was a snow clearing operation, and it was somewhere in a schoolyard or something, and there were a couple of children playing. And as you know, I mean, snow gets built up against a fence, and kids build forts and, that kind of thing. And there were a couple of children injured because the snowplow driver was cleaning an area and pushing snow up against the fence, and the kids got caught between the snow and the fence. And luckily they survived it, but pretty scary, and something you really have to keep an eye on your kids for, because that's just, because no defense against vehicles like that you see on the screen.
But you know what? Otherwise, though, Lee, I mean, and I guess where I was leading to is I think everybody kind of enjoyed the break. As much as we've been on lockdown, I'd much rather have a winter, not necessarily like this, because it's clogging the roads and parking spots and what have you, just with the overall accumulation. But, during lockdown, it was tough for us to send our kids out because it's just kind of wet and muddy and soggy.
Yeah, when it was really warm.
It was so much fun on Monday and Tuesday and even into yesterday.
Yeah.
Just seeing the kids enjoy the snow.
Yeah.
Building the snowman. Here, I'll see if I can pull up a picture that my wife sent. Well, here you can. You know what? Why don't you talk about the accumulation, Lee? Because I know that was.
Put just in case you're interested and you haven't seen this. I'm looking at my computer screen because the numbers on the screen are a little bit small for my old eyes to see. But
here, I mean, I can
say, okay, well, Oshawa and St. Catharines were officially the areas that experienced the highest snowfalls. Oshawa at 55 centimeters, St. Catharines at 50. And one of the things that was, and believe me, I think I shoveled all 50 centimeters of that snow from my driveway, and off the cars. But this was a really interesting path. It sort of covered the area from, see London? Now London is normally a much bigger snow belt area than St. Catharines. 18 centimeters. I mean, we can do 18 centimeters standing on our head without a shovel. I mean, it's just, that's nothing. So, but when that front from like sort of southern went sort of northeast, right through that area. Oshawa, and then even Trenton was skipped a little bit. And then it got a little bit heavier through Brockville, Ottawa, even Montreal, only 17. 7 centimeters in Quebec. So it was really an interesting path that this storm took, and then it sat. That's what happened back in the blizzard of 77 that we keep talking about, is the system comes in, and then because of all of the various trails and winds, et cetera, it sits in one spot for a while, and then you get that dump, and then it slowly moves on. What you want when you have a blizzard is for it to have high winds, so it blows the clouds through. But we didn't have really high winds. It was just snow.
And we're so used to being the opposite in St. Catharines. Usually the map is the exact reverse.
Yeah, we're tucked in underneath that western end of Lake Ontario, and we've got the escarpment. So a lot of things kind of go around us. Not this time.
Exact opposite. So here, I'll throw this one up, Lee, and
okay.
You can see. Here's our kiddos.
Oh, nice. Where was that?
That's in Feulled. I think it's
Okay.
Melstow Park.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And there's just this little berm there. Like, I think within a year or two, the kids might outgrow this hill for tobogganing.
Probably.
But for anybody kind of, my eldest is 8. The daughter there, she's at the front.
Kevin,
Yeah.
are those GT snow racers?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't send my kids to the hill with any less.
GT snow racers.
They're still the best.
We had those for our kids, and that was like a gazillion years ago. That's awesome.
So there they are.
They still make those?
I don't know. I mean, those are old school ones. I've just held on to them because they're the best. Yeah, they are right there. They're my littles.
Oh, hi, kids. See, those are the faces. Those are the faces you have to remember when it comes to the snow, right? Because they love it. It's fun. I see that nicely carved snow wall you have there.
Yes.
Which indicates to me that you are a real Canadian because you have a snowblower.
I am a blower of snow. Yes, but there you go. You see the hill. My wife had a great story because I was doing Niagara Falls City Council that night. So she was the one that brought them tobogganing or GT snow racing, and my wife ended up talking to this girl. She said she was in her kind of early 20s that was going to Brock, and she was from Jordan, the country of Jordan, and she had never seen anybody toboggan before. She'd been in Canada for 4 or 5 years, but whenever there was a significant snowfall, she said she always just kind of barricaded herself indoors. So she decided to come out and saw people tobogganing, so she was snapping all these photos. And, of course, my wife said, well, you want to try it? I said, yeah, I'd love to. So they gave her one of the GT snow racers, and up the hill she went, and she came down, and my wife said that her smile was absolutely ear to ear. She just loved it, loved the experience.
That's great.
Offered to do it again. She said, no, I'm good. But, man, that was a lot of fun, and that's a story that my wife relayed to me. So, I think most people found the silver lining and found some fun.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to take away from the people with medical conditions or extreme circumstances where your life was really in peril or affected on those days.
And of course we certainly didn't fall into that category. My dog was a little confused. Now she loves the snow, but she hasn't seen this much. I kind of took her out for a drag on Monday because her legs aren't long enough to get above the amount of snow we had. So she just looked at me and said, are you kidding me? Like, I'm supposed to go there?
Okay, Lee, I'm just going to share something here. Our Zoom page is open, And obviously, it's been shared somewhere because we are getting inundated right now.
Are we?
So we're getting spammed.
Inundated with what?
Just by people, and it's always Spanish-sounding names, and they're all coming into the waiting room. And I just wonder what the inspiration is. So right now, somebody has come into the waiting room. Oh gosh, it takes me a second here to get them up.
Okay.
And you just wonder, like, what's the long-term goal of this?
Okay, we don't know who this person is?
No, other than the name is, oh gosh, what is it? Santiago.
Santiago.
So here, hold on a second here. I'll get this up for us. Like, what is this about exactly?
Okay.
So that's what they came into the Zoom room to tell us. Now, I'll play the audio. I'm hoping, I don't know what I'm going to hear here.
Hola.
It sounded like a Spanish version of Pumped Up Kicks.
And that's what they clicked into our green room with.
That's it, yeah. For whatever reason, Santiago, somewhere in the world, got a hold of our Zoom link, and that's their purpose in life.
Hola, Santiago. Hola.
Gosh.
All right. Yes, neighbors helping neighbors was the, I would say, overwhelming theme on Niagara 411 this week. And that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. I do want to take this moment again while we're here sort of between topics to thank our sponsors, Gales Gas, fueling this program almost since its inception into our second full season now, and they joined us just at near the end of our first season of this program. And there's a company that is affected big time by a storm such as what happened this past week. Not only do they have to try to keep as many of their retail operations going so that people, when they are out, can be fueled, but there are fuel oil customers and others that expect service from a company such as this. And I was following their posts on Facebook and other social media sites over the course of the storm period. And kudos to them. They always go above and beyond and do the best they can do to help their customers. And that's what is the result of being a community-based organization, because you're here, this is your community, and this is the one that you support. So thank you to Jessica Friesen and her hardworking gang at Gales. They were going full tilt over the last number of days as well. Performance Heating and Air, Carlo and the gang, boy, if there is ever a time of year when you guys are kept busy, this is it as well, because it's critical, especially when you get cold weather like rolled back in overnight and on into today. It's a critical matter that people remain warm and comfortable, and thank you for what you guys do, and thank you for supporting the program. And who knows, after the events such as what happened over the last few days, what insurance needs are going to have to be fulfilled, and Virgin Insurance Group does that as well. So to Mark Shirk and Blake and the gang at Virgin Insurance Group, we really do appreciate your support. And I also wanted to mention my hat friends at Beau Chapeau Hat Shop, Kevin Neufeld and his staff. If you have decided over this past week that you need some sort of winter coverage on your dome, by all means, you can now, because the roads are clear, make your way to Beau Chapeau Hat Shop in downtown Niagara on the Lake on Queen Street. Beautiful location, beautiful spot, nice to take a walk around, and they have hats for all seasons and reasons at Beau Chapeau. So we thank them for helping keep my dome warm and well.
I'm just throwing up there, Lee, that Beau Chapeau truly is a national and international destination for people that want to purchase hats because of their collection.
Yep.
So they also have an online store. So, I mean, this is an update from them on Tuesday. Like a lot of places, listen, our doors are closed today. We're still digging out from the snow. But, hey, you can always go to beauchapeau.com or 1-877-YOUR-HAT.
Yeah.
And I know Kevin and the staff there will look after you quite well. But there you go, beauchapeau.com. If you've never been and you're wondering what's out there, click on there, and you can browse in the comfort of your home.
It's amazing. Up to 10,000 hats in stock at any one time. It's just nuts. If you've seen some movie, for example, let's talk Indiana Jones, just as a prime example, but there were others as well. And you say, man, that hat that Harrison Ford dude is wearing in Indiana Jones, I want me one of them. They're there. The exact hat, it's there. You want to buy it, and other things the same. So anyway, and toques and it's not just fashion apparel. It's fashion apparel, but as I said, for all seasons as well. Did we talk about this before? I think I was talking to actually my son about this. I don't think it was on this show. Why can't Americans call a toque a toque? Why is it a knit cap, or what are some of the other things that they call it? You see, because you see all the footballers on the sidelines during the playoffs wearing the hat. They never call them toques.
They don't call them toques?
No, they never. I don't. They do. They probably that's because they don't know how to spell it, I guess. Americans never call a toque a toque. When is a toque not a toque? When it's in the United States.
Yeah, when it's in the United States. I wanted to highlight here. I'm looking for a post from a buddy of mine on Niagara 411, and I contacted him. He runs Big Beaver Milling.
Beaver what?
And he put out a post through Niagara 411 because they're hiring.
But Big Beaver what?
Big Beaver Milling.
Millet?
Milling, as in milling.
Oh, milling.
Yeah, sorry.
As in owning a mill.
Yeah, but I don't.
Okay, gonna have to work on your articulation there.
I agree. And you know what? I just can't seem to find it right now. But he's hiring, and I want to get him on the show. I was talking to him. He's just so busy with all the snow and everything else.
What is a Big Beaver Milling?
Here you
what
go,
do they
right
mill?
Here, I'll throw it out here. Oh, there we go.
We are hiring. It's an actual mill, like a wood.
So this
mill.
guy makes a lot of like the live edge type stuff.
Okay.
His name's Jay. Jay Butler is the guy that runs Big Beaver Milling. I've known him for probably 8-9 years, something like that.
All right.
And his ability is, I don't want to say unparalleled, but it amazes me. I've been following him on Facebook, and quite often he posts his work. It's a lot of custom stuff, and it's really good. And he's hiring. So I mean, here you go. Immediate opening for an experienced cabinet maker or a solid wood joiner. And if you go to their page right here, he's down in Stevensville area.
Really?
Right out by
where I grew up.
Kind of the backwoods area, but right by
Baker Road.
Safari Niagara.
That's right around the corner from the house I grew up in.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the photos of the stuff they've done. And I mean, it's incredible work.
Wow.
Like something like that.
That's beautiful.
Like this here, I remember he was building this. This is obviously for a gun aficionado. So within the resin on the end of the table, there's ammunition in there.
Those are bullets.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it wouldn't be in my living room, but that's a spectacular piece.
Wow.
I mean, as far as you want to talk about furniture that's art.
Boy, when I joined the IRA, man, I'm in there, yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, he's always posting examples of his work and then does things like this.
Very creative stuff.
All right, so if you want some custom stuff done for your home.
Big Beaver Milling.
Yeah, good local company, and they're also hiring, which
hiring
just goes to
skilled woodworkers.
Just goes to show how successful they've become, right? It's like, okay, we've got too much work here that I can handle. Like, the demand is through the roof, and the quality is, I want to say unparalleled, but it's superb. I want to see if I can get to the staircases that he did, because there you go right there. I mean, look at this.
Wow.
Like, this isn't just woodworking at this point.
No, that's architecture is what that is. That's amazing.
It really is.
Ha!
So we're going to get Jay on the show probably next week. Hopefully he can give us a tour of the shop and what goes on there. But I remember when he was just starting out, probably 6 or 7 years ago. He'd always dabbled, right? But of course, like a lot of people, you dabbled and somebody says, hey, can you make me one of those?
Yeah.
All right, so you do, and then you charge them a little bit, and then somebody else asks you, and before too long...
those things are huge word-of-mouth businesses. Like, you got to talk to this guy, right? Kev, it just dawned on me of something I saw on Facebook earlier today, and I'm not really trying to out anybody because this fellow posted this himself on Facebook today, and he's a guy that's been a friend of the program. You remember that we've talked with Phil Gladman a few times out of Welland.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking of his post today on Facebook was a very personal one, as a matter of fact. And he posted the fact that he's been really struggling with, he didn't use the word depression, but it sounded like that. He wasn't, his life wasn't in a good place right now, and hasn't been for a little while for a number of reasons that he didn't mention, and it's none of my business, except for the fact that it bothers me when I see somebody hurting that reaches out like that. And I know that he is certainly aware of this program, and it got me thinking about the fact that there might very well be other people. Remember earlier we were talking about this storm, and we felt trapped and we felt isolated, and you feel different emotions when you go through something that you have no control over. And I wondered how many people are out there right now in Niagara that have these feelings of helplessness or fear or depression or whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to reach out to all of you. And Phil, I apologize for using you as sort of the poster child for this piece, only because you put this out there yourself. I wouldn't out you on your own, because we care about you. You've done some really nice pieces and fun pieces, and we know you're a real community guy when it comes to Welland is concerned. And when we've had you on the show, you're so upbeat and positive, and it bothered me to see you hurting a bit when you did that. So if there is somebody that you just want to come on and tell your story, or you want to say hi to a friendly face and a friendly voice, you can do that here. We're here for that as well. So all you have to do is, as it says on the bottom of the screen there, just click the link on the post. It'll pop you into our green room, which is our sort of cool Hollywood type name for our waiting room. And then Kevin will get you prepped and everything else, so we can have a conversation. So I just wanted to mention to all, and if it's not reaching out to us, reach out to somebody.
And you know what, Lee? I commented on Phil's post this morning because I saw it. And
you saw it?
This is something that I've started to do, and I would encourage other people to do it. It takes so little of your time just to put in words of encouragement or share condolences if somebody is grieving online, because it only takes a moment of your time, but it's effectual to the people that are posting. They read them, and you could really help somebody. I go out, on Facebook and social media, we have people that we maybe not seen for, in some cases, 15, 20, 25 years.
I know.
But if they post something and say, hey, you know what? I'm grieving. My father passed away. My mother passed away. I'll take 3 seconds out of my day to offer my condolences
and that's all it
my
takes.
sympathies. It's all it takes, but it means so much to them. And I would encourage other people to do it, because it's so easy to do it. And too often we just scroll by. You know what? Just stop and say, "Hey, condolences.
Yeah.
I hear what you're going through, brother."
And that's precisely the sentiment with which I wanted to bring this up today, so that people like Phil know that you're not out there twisting in the wind all by yourself.
And speaking of comments, Lee, I want to share a couple stories here from Niagara 411 that I just love, because it's so 411, it's so community. One of them was just 16 hours ago. So talking about a collision on Highway 3 at Point Avenel Road in Fort Erie. So here, it sounds very serious, right? Head-on collision between two pickup trucks.
Okay.
And then you get into the comments, and I love this.
See, I saw the post, but I didn't go into the comments.
Head-on collision between two pickup trucks. I'm thinking, oh gosh, are we talking fatalities? The road's going to be closed. There's families that are affected right here in Niagara. And then to the comments you go, and Hey, here you go.
The driver in the one vehicle was transported with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver and passenger in the other vehicle seemed unharmed, other than whiplash likely. I was on scene moments after it happened and stayed until the paramedics arrived. There were definitely angels protecting people because both vehicles were totaled, and you would think people would have had much more serious injuries. All the bystanders were amazing. One woman let the injured man sit in her car, and the off-duty firefighter was really great. The guy from MTO needs a vacation. The community really pulled together.
And then you read on, and there's, okay, oh, here, James.
Julie Joseph, thank you for helping me. Thank you again, and I hope it's a quick recovery. James Nelson, you're so very welcome. I'm just glad that you're okay. You have a really sweet girlfriend. Is that what that means? Our family is praying that you recover quickly. Thanks.
So
and
here
back
you are.
and forth.
The people that are helping make a comment and say, here's what I saw. And then the people that were injured in the crash see that on Niagara 411. Hey, that was me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, by the way. And then it even plays on a little more. I'm trying to think. Oh, here we go. Look at Delia.
If anybody knows the injured driver or his girlfriend, please let them get in touch with me because I have his jackets. The EMTs took them off while he was sitting in my car waiting for the stretcher, and I didn't realize they put the jackets on my back seat until I was at home. Hope he is recovering and the other couple's okay. Good vibes to all. It's just such a wonderful thing that Nick has developed here. Because oftentimes things on Niagara 411 take on lives of their own like this. And it builds this kind of community camaraderie and back and forth. And it's like, wow, the things that happen out there that we would never know about. And these people would probably never have a vehicle with which to stay in touch with each other. So, I mean, again, kudos to Nick and the 27 hours a day that you work doing this stuff.
And speaking of, and just goes to show just the sense of humor that Nick has and the light-aired professionalism with which he handles Niagara 411, where, we're serious and we're doing, but anyway, I don't know if you saw this post go up yesterday, but sometimes, posts and Facebook, it's glitchy occasionally, especially with how many times Nick's posting, and he's getting emails and Good Samaritan stories and monitoring this page and the other page. So when things like this go up, I don't think anybody is really holding his feet to the fire. But did you see this post yesterday?
Yes, I did. I can't remember the story, though.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's not attached to a story.
Anything.
So a lot of people, and this is what I give credit to Nick for, a lot of people might just delete this post and say, oh, that post went up in error, obviously, or I'm referring to another post and people can't quite make the connection. But the comments just absolutely killed me because people have fun with it. Like, get to some of these, Lee.
Right to the point. Love it. Brings tears to my eyes. Care to tell us? Where's the story? It was just so beautiful. Lovely story. It deserves a standing ovation. There was no story. Can none of you go to the page and find out it's not rocket science? Or as my son would say, it's not rocket surgery or brain science. Okay.
People just, and again, right? Nick could have taken it down. He's like, let's just have a little fun with this. You guys are having fun. Obviously,
that's awesome.
That's commenting on another story, but and everybody just,
that is,
I mean,
so
with
good.
their gifts and everything else.
That
I just thought,
so good.
I just thought there was a lot of, lighthearted fun, and we need a little bit of that.
Oh, we sure do. And it was an interesting week for that. It was a little bit of a respite for people that normally look at Niagara 411 and we see the fires and we see the car crashes, and they're still there, of course, so that you know what's going on and how your community's being affected. But there was such a plethora of positive, fun energy going that, if you have to look on the silver lining of the cloud that was this crappy weather that we had to put up with, that would be it, because it reminds you of what's important when you get up in the morning, and instead of worrying your way out to your car and out to your road and out to the store and out to the this, and you look and say, okay, hey, obviously I'm not going anywhere today, so let's let's hang out and play Scrabble, you know? Let's do something different. Now, Kevin.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I usually introduce this man, but I guess you figured out who he is by now. Kevin Jack of WeeStreem, Canada's premier streaming company, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Kevin and his partner Brandon Scram. This has been a challenging time. I mean, both you and Brandon have school-age children. Man, that kid can ski.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon's kid?
Yeah, Nathan, absolutely.
Nathan?
They were up at Blue Mountain during the lockdown because, hey, you can still ski.
Wow.
He's doing great. He's 5 years old.
Anyway, way to go, Nathan. Sorry, I just...
And so you're referencing a video. I don't know if I got clearance from Brandon to share that with everybody. So,
Well,
so
it was
I'm
on
not going
Facebook.
to. Well, I know, but only his friends can see that, right?
Oh yeah. Anyway, you got an Olympian there. So
Yeah, he's going good.
Where I was going with this is, again, entrepreneurial in its nature. WeeStream feeds off events and happenings and meetings and things where people gather that need to have the point of their gathering publicized and out there in the world. It's not an easy undertaking that you guys did, and yet it's an amazing technology that what you're watching right now, for example, if you look at your screen right now, you're watching something that you would see on CNN or Fox or ABC, CBS, CBC, anything, CTV. You pick a national network that pays hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a show produced and pay their employees and pay for all the equipment and the studios and the whole 9 yards, the whole Megillah, that looks no better than what you're seeing on your screen right now. This is professional stuff. And that's what WeeStream does. And I just thought it's been a while since I mentioned it.
Thank you, Lee.
And a lot of people don't. You take what you're seeing right now for granted, and there aren't too many people out there other than the big boys, and I'm talking network television stuff, that can accomplish this.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's just you and I in an empty restaurant.
Yeah, and a dozen iPhones, and
we're pulling it off.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. And to that end, as far as reopening, and we played that at the beginning of the show, but 50% January 31st. Yesterday we had our very first meeting. It was a Zoom with the Ontario Volleyball Association.
Oh, you're back talking to them?
Yep. And the Ontario Championships are coming up, and once again, they're bringing WeeStream into the fold. So,
excellent.
From 2015 through 2019, we were doing provincial and national championships for Ontario Volleyball Association.
Terrific.
And for Volleyball Canada, and we're just a small little company in St. Catharines, and here we are doing great work for sports agencies and sports orgs all across Ontario and Canada, and all from this little company in St. Catharines. So very happy that some of that is coming back.
Happy to hear that, and that is if there's yet another kind of silver lining to this COVID thing, is businesses have found alternative sources of work. They have found alternative sources of revenue, and not necessarily that it has ever been easy, but it does necessity, as they say, being the mother of invention. You got to put food on the table. You got to feed your family. Saying, okay, where do we take this thing? Because we can't take it over there because that door is now locked. We can't get through that door. So we have to create other doors to other opportunities.
We did, and the hard part is trying to do that when you've got school-age children. What I mean school-age, my kids are 6 and 8. So grade 1, grade 3, online learning is not a solo experience for them. They need mom and dad all the time.
And
so trying to drum up new revenue and pivot your business while you've got to
babysitting.
Yeah, while you're babysitting is next to impossible. It's very difficult to do.
So to all those people that are doing that, and one of the things that happened out of this whole thing is where I was going is this working from home, this doing your own thing. Now I've been doing that for quite some time since I left organized traditional terrestrial radio broadcasting. I have my own studio. It's like the Lee Sterry Voice Services you see there. It's in my home, and I can do that. I can work in the back in the corner in the dark, and that's fine. Made contact with a fellow that's a neighbor of mine. He's been on the show before. I didn't even know he was my neighbor until this snowstorm, right? Like,
Very cool.
Things that happen. So his sister knows people. His sister's from England. She lives in Spain, like a lot of people retire in Spain. She knows these two guys. They wrote a book. So I might have a trilogy of books to record.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, to narrate.
Very cool,
And so out of these things come interesting things. Like I think right now I have, this is the bragging part of the show. It's okay, you can tune me out. I think I've got about 30 plus titles on Amazon right now that are published.
That you've voiced.
Yeah, that are I've narrated that are available for sale. Yeah,
that's a lot, Lee.
25 to 30. Yeah.
Very cool.
So
no, that is awesome.
So these things become necessary. So humans are resourceful.
Now, Lee, no segue to this one, but just one of the things that I had to deal with, and a lot of parents had to deal with this week, and I put a post up about it on my Facebook page, and when I read it back, it sounded a little more angry than I wanted the tone to be, and that can happen sometimes. But I mean, even we dealt with this on Niagara 411 this week. And that is, hey, everybody, we're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. So, I mean, this is the Niagara Catholic District School Board. Our children
But they weren't the only ones that did.
No, they go to Mont Avenir. There's actually 4 school boards here, right? There's the DSPN, there's the Catholic Board, then there's the English French Board, and there's the Catholic French Board.
Right.
And my children go to the Catholic French Board, Mont Avenir.
Yeah.
And I just bring that up because they are always left out of media announcements.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You see the announcements. Like, for example, yesterday, if you read any of the local media announcements, it would have said that buses are canceled, but schools are open across Niagara.
Exactly.
Not true. French Catholic schools were closed yesterday. But yet the media just seems to ignore the fact that there's 2 other school boards here.
All right. Having managed traditional media outlets for many years, here's the reason they get left out. It's their own fault. Because they don't reach out and contact the media resources to report it. I'm telling you, man, it's their own fault.
Well, it's not because
Yeah,
they
it is.
No, because they send out a release saying our school board.
But do they?
Yeah, well, yeah, they
Do
do.
those? Who gets those? Who?
The media outlets.
Yeah, but is their mailing list right? Who gets it?
No, but for example, I'm not saying I agree with you that maybe my school board, maybe French Catholic doesn't send it out.
Yeah.
But the DSPN will send out theirs. They're not making or drawing a conclusion for all of Niagara. They're just saying
I get that.
Our buses are canceled.
I get that, but maybe the contact person that's getting it doesn't. It might.
Right, but that
they might have
person-
one email address that's wrong.
No, this is what I'm getting to, Lee, is that it's the media outlets that draw the conclusion that all buses are canceled today and all schools are open across Niagara. And that's not true.
Has that been the blanket statement for
Oh, yeah.
all boards?
Yes.
Was that up for all boards?
I saw it yesterday. I saw it yesterday twice.
Well, that's just incompetence then.
Well, that's what I mean. So I'm not giving them a pass and saying, well, hey, it's because they didn't get the release. No, they get one from DSPN and they say DSPN. They get another one from the Catholic School Board, and then they draw the conclusion, well, there you go. That's everyone. Well, no, it's not everyone.
Okay. All right.
And in the comments, there's other parents of French Catholic students saying, no, it's not all schools in Niagara because French Catholic schools are closed.
All right.
Getting hot under the collar, Lee.
Okay. All right. I just see things from the other side sometimes, and the fact that maybe there's one email address that didn't get the note from that particular board.
No, but that has nothing to do with it. Whether you've received an email or not, you can't draw the conclusion that all schools are closed if you've only heard from a couple boards.
I understand that. But you're depending on the media people to have someone on duty at that time that knows what you know, that there's all these different boards.
Knows that there's 4 school boards in Niagara? I do. I worked in media for 15 years.
Well, I know.
I know there's 4 school
you're a
boards.
veteran. You're not one fresh out of college that they hired at $2 an hour.
And therein lies the issue.
Ta-da! See,
you go.
we came full circle.
No, you're right. So anyway, what I was really getting to, Lee, was this system that needs to be changed.
I agree.
Niagara Catholic District School Board.
I couldn't agree more.
We'll be up early again tomorrow morning to assess the situation regarding transportation. If there is no notification provided by 6 a.m., buses are running and schools are open. And this is 9:33 p.m. the night before.
Yeah, that's just a bad way to communicate.
And here's my post, Lee, and I'll let you read it.
It's just a bad way to... I said this I did read this, by the way, and I couldn't agree with you more. I said this last year, and I'll say it again, this decision-making for schools at 6 a.m. is BS. If online learning is an option, make that decision the night before. Waking up to find out if we have to flip our world on its head is old school. TDSB informed their parents last night. It can be done. I totally agree with you. It is old school communication. It is like, how do you announce at 9 o'clock that we're going to announce something by 6 a.m.? At 9 o'clock, everybody's watching TV. Or they're not waiting for news.
Parents across Niagara, pretty much across the province, are waking up at 6 a.m.
Not knowing what's going on. Yeah.
Why? Why do we do it this way? The only thing I could see, Lee, is that they're worried that if we call off school the night before and then buses can run, or let's say in a normal snow condition, the storm passes us by. We don't get the 8 inches we were expecting, or it comes later in the day and transportation could have run. Well, so what? Because you can prepare for online learning the day before, and the kids can do their online learning at home, and I think we give them a pass. It's much better than finding out at 6 a.m. And
I agree.
Who does it benefit? Who does this 6 a.m.? It doesn't benefit the schools because teachers now have to entire...
The bus drivers.
Who does it benefit making this call at 6 a.m.?
The bus driver.
How does it benefit them?
Because then they know that they don't have to go out and get on their bus.
But wouldn't it be nice for them to know at 9 p.m. the night before?
Of course I would.
So why don't they do it?
Of course. I don't know.
It's so easy to change this system and make the
You
call
just
the
asked
night
me a
before.
question. Who does it benefit? And I told you. It's the people that don't have to go and start the bus.
Who does it benefit by making the decision at 6 a.m. instead of, let's say, 6 p.m. the day prior?
As far as transportation or as far as schools?
Anybody affected by those decisions. It doesn't benefit anybody to make this last-minute call.
If schools are open, tax dollars still get paid per seats. See, that's why schools don't close unless they absolutely have to, because they are paid, their school boards are paid per open seat.
You think so?
I know so.
Well, I know that, but I mean, if it's a snow day, they don't get paid? I don't think so.
If the schools are open, they do.
If the schools are closed, they don't? I don't know.
No, they don't.
Somebody must have more insight. What if they just transition online? They'd probably still get paid for that.
Now that we've got the online learning, you're right. That's a whole new wrinkle.
To me, that's the core of it.
That is
prior to online learning, I'd say, yeah, whatever. But now you theoretically have the mechanism to continue learning and continue teaching.
The reason, though,
I'll tell you, my teachers don't like it. Finding out at 6 a.m. that I thought I was going into school today.
Well, they're not worried about the teachers, Kevin.
But I'm saying is that it doesn't benefit the teachers either. Everybody involved would benefit.
It benefits the board if the school can stay open because of the revenue they make per school seat.
I think online is the same as open.
Perhaps
when it comes to their revenue.
Perhaps,
maybe not.
But it depends the status that they have at that particular point in time. I always used to it used to drive me crazy when I did morning radio for ages and ages. Whenever there was a snowfall, we had I probably took 30 calls in 10 minutes. Are the schools open? Are the schools open? And they were usually from kids. Because they wanted to get the day off. But everybody was up in the morning wanting to know if the buses are running, if the schools are open, and like all the rest. It was just the way it was. That was the day. But that was the only way people had to find out was radio in those days. Now it's all online.
And I guess that's what I'm saying is that, and it could be flipped like that, right? You could just make a decision that, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. We're making the call the night before.
Yeah.
I had to have my grandparents, or my in-laws rather, on standby. Right, I had to. They told me, okay, call me at 8 a.m. if you have to bring the kids over.
But we could have this on another whole level, Kevin. I think this is probably where we're going as well. You know, with the Amber Alerts, and the emergency alerts. Like when I was in Ventura, California, and the fires were raging down there. Everybody had the app on their phone that would get alerted if there was any information. Well, they should have that system for school boards here in Niagara, where the minute they make a decision at 9 o'clock at night or whatever, it's and there's what your school board's doing.
Not fair. I just
you
think
could do that.
They just people seem to get the notifications. It's just the timing. And even here they say, hey, we're making a notification at night to tell you that we're going to make the call tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we're making an announcement that we're going to make an announcement.
Yeah, just make the call now. Like, I don't think anybody's going to hold it against you. I think we'd appreciate being told at 6 p.m. instead of 6 a.m.
And do you know why we do it that way, Kevin?
Because that's the way we've always done
Always done it that way.
Which is the worst excuse.
It's the worst excuse in the world.
To do anything. Well, that's how we've always done it. Oh, well, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
And how are the results?
Used to drive me crazy. Anytime I was ever asked to do a job or move to another city or manage something else or whatever, the only thing I would say to the staff is, "Hey, everything is fair game. We all have a role to play here, and I'll listen to anything. The only thing I do not want to hear ever is because we've always done it that way." God, I hate that expression. And you hear that less and less these days because of this crazy age of change and constant motion that is involved. You hear that less and less because everybody's learning new ways to do things, and it comes full circle to what we were talking about. WeeStreem is every business is reinventing itself. Live television has reinvented itself with this program. There aren't too many, if any, programs that do what we do for the reasons that we do it, and we're still trying to perfect our craft, and we thank those people that have come along for the ride. Of course, Gales Gas Bars, we talked about before, fueling Niagara for the last 50 years and probably another 150 to come, if not more. Performance Heating and Air, Verge Insurance Group, WeeStream, my business that plays a role in this thing. We've all grown in different directions and in different ways over the last number of years, and exponentially, Kevin. I don't see that slowing down. I think the growth is going to continue. You and I have talked about this before. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. If you expect things to stay the same, you're already out of the game.
Yep,
you're already out of the game.
I have an expression that I use about our company when sometimes we implement new systems or buy new equipment or things like that. They'll say, "Oh, I said, listen, if we're not getting better, we're getting worse."
Yeah,
and that's the reality.
There has to be growth, has to be forward movement, and this and that. There was a scientist that once said, it might have been Einstein, I can't remember, but it was the only thing that moves faster than change is the rate of change. Okay, now, which sounds kind of weird until you break it down. Yeah, change is constant, but the rate of change is not. Think of the number of things that happened to progress society or that were invented between, let's say, 1850 and 1920. Then, or even 1900. Then take 1900 to 1940. Then 1950, like the number of things, the rate of change, the massive amounts of progress. It doesn't stay static over time. It can happen this in 10 years and then that in the next 20. It's astounding. And if you're not even trying to keep up, you're already left behind, which is kind of scary. I mean, I looked at my mom. My mom died when she was 101 years old. And I used to talk to her, and God bless her, her mind was really, really sharp right up till shortly before she passed. And I used to try to talk to her about the things that she'd seen and experienced and remembered over the last 100 years. And it was she said, "I'm that old? I've seen that much stuff?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, just think about it." And it's like, it's amazing. And if we're lucky enough to live even into our 80s or 90s, the rate of the number of things that we will have seen will be astounding.
That's a great point, Lee. I mean, we're about a generation apart. Every time,
yeah, you and I, yeah.
Every time I see anything on TV that has to do with the history of racism in the United States,
right,
I'm always blown away when they start talking about the dates. They say, oh, this was 1961. I'm like, that's not 1861?
Yeah.
Like, that was in, not my lifetime, but people walking around us right now, they experienced
in my
that.
lifetime.
Exactly. It was in your lifetime. It's shocking and appalling, but it goes to your point about the rate of change.
Martin Luther King Day was this past Monday. I remember the day that Martin Luther King was shot. I remember the march that they made through Chicago and all these other places. I watched Bobby Kennedy get shot live on television, and JFK, and these are things that are archaic, our caveman days for people growing up today, and there, but for the grace of God go us that we forget these things. And but the good part about it is, the positive part about it is, as big an issue as we have with the division of races and creeds and colors, especially in the United States, we have come a long way. I mean, there is hope that we can get through the other side with these things, but the concept of, because we've always done it that way, never washes. It never washes. We are in a state of constant change, and I think the young people are starting to embrace it. People of my age have a hard time with change. They don't like it. They don't want it because it's unfamiliar. They don't want to learn anything new. I'm fine where I am. I don't want to change anything because that upsets me. But that is really stinking thinking. The young people get it. They kind of know that I'm probably gonna have maybe 4 or 5 different jobs in my lifetime. I'm not gonna go to work when I'm 19 and quit when I'm 60 working for the same company. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Now, Lee, one thing that is not changing for the foreseeable future is the weather around here. And so I just want to bring this up to put a bookend on the program. Is this snow and all the buildup that we've had, I mean, is this going to be our landscape for the next month? Like once it starts
it seems so, but we're not in for some big dumps. We're just in for some continuing.
No, we're not. But I'm just talking about the fact that there's not going to be a thaw for some time.
Well, that's good, because if we went up to like 10 degrees, we'd be flooding.
That's a good point. But I mean, here we are in the
kind of gradual change.
The foreseeable future here, right?
Yeah.
-8, -4. I mean, these are highs, right?
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
There you go. I mean, we're only hitting.
That's okay. Things will thaw slowly, which is exactly what you want. You don't want rivers of melted snow and ice running down your street.
No, but I don't know that we're prepared to kind of live like this, right? Where some intersections aren't really safe because the mountains of snow and they're only getting harder and more crystallized and ice-like. And
there's another element of our society that I feel for under times like these, and these are our mobility challenged people. You and I both worked with a young lady who spends her life in a wheelchair, and she's very, very independent, and looks after herself. I mean, she's a feisty, independent, powerful woman. But these conditions make her life hell.
Absolutely. And I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I don't think it's getting better for at least the next 2 weeks.
No. So it's important that if you have a corner or a curb or a street side or an entrance to a driveway or something that that someone who is alternately mobile, if you will, would not be able to navigate, please clean it out and help these people, because they're victims of our environment. That's it.
Yep, they are. Lee, playing us out today, we're going to go back a couple of years to a song and video by Katie Gatta, and I'm Not Shaking.
Katie Gatta?
Katie Gatta.
Tell us about Katie.
Katie has taken a pseudonym, and she's been releasing music recently under the name of Sleepy Jean. Okay. And we featured some of that stuff, but I figured I'd go back to some original Katie Gatta work for today. We always feature Niagara musicians kind of to play us off the show. So coming up in a couple seconds, I'm Not Shaken by Katie Gatta.
Do you remember a lyric? Now, again, I'm dating myself here. Do you remember a group called the Monkees?
Well, yes.
Okay. Davy Jones, there was a lyric in one of the songs that he sang as a member. Wake up, sleepy Jean.
Oh, yeah.
That just popped into my head when you said that.
Of course, yeah. I'm assuming that's where she borrowed it from. It's a cool moniker.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this has been a different show because it was a week full of snow and things all related to snow. But it's been an interesting show too, because we've had a chance to explore some things, and I'm glad you've been a part of it. I know watching the comments that you have been. Keep in mind that the show is always open for you to come on and talk to us. And if you're out there in need of talking, talk to somebody. Anybody. Doesn't have to be us. Gales Gas, thank you again for fueling this program as our title sponsor. Performance Heating and Air, Carlo and the gang, I know you guys have been busy as well. Thank you for supporting us still. Verge Insurance Group, it's always a pleasure to have you on board. Kevin, Jack, I think this is a therapeutic day for both of us. We kind of enjoy doing this thing, and it's always a pleasure to partner with you on it. So thanks for all the work you do, trying to make me look as good as possible, and that's a big job. Thank you, everybody. Have yourselves a great weekend. Hope you stay safe and healthy and happy, and enjoy Sleepy Jean as we get played off the stage, as we say. And Beau Chapeau, thank you too. See you, gang. Bye.
My heart is aching, body's earthquake. The shot you keep taking is again. I never hope you hope for a noticeable way to settle this score, but you keep circling like about to some else. The end. I'm not shaking, but I shiver all day long. Caught in the fog, you blew into my lungs. I'm not shaking anymore. Besides, a stranger, am I in danger of becoming somebody that I don't wanna be? If I was sweeter,